Any job, no matter how easy it is, you just get sick of it. After a while, you do it. I drove brick for 7 years. I was gonna go 10, I was done. I mean, I was 7, 10, I was done. Steve Carroll was there for 26 years. I'm the two drivers. And he takes extra pieces too. Every 10 or 20 years, you gotta change your job. Hey, there's a lot of who I Well, you think he's gonna develop that book? I just gotta watch my tongue because I might hope they don't put me on saying woke shit. No, I want to say no crazy bullshit. I do it. Know what I mean? Good.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight to Smithfield Town Council meeting, Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. There were no votes taken in executive session. We want to know our prayer. May our words be filled with kindness, our actions with wisdom, and our decisions with love. Bless this meeting and all who are part of it. Amen.
Amen.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Emergency evacuation health notification.
Thank you, Council President. There's two main exits from the Town Council chambers. To the left of the stage, up the stairs will take you out the back of the building, or the back of the council chambers to your right. The stairs will take you out the front of the building. Just past that is a men's facility on your right. The stairs to the left is a ladies' facility. Please do not use the elevator in time of emergency.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to presentations. We have a presentation tonight from the Smithfield Youth Council. Is it a presentation? Yeah. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Ava Bruley, and I'm the chairperson of the Smithfield Youth Council. I'm Reese Rossi, and I'm the media officer. Unfortunately tonight, Grace, the vice chairperson of the council, and Kaya, the secretary of the council, are not in attendance tonight, but Reese and I are here to give you all a report on the recent accomplishments of the Smithfield Youth Council from these last few months. Okay. Firstly, the largest shift in the council occurred earlier this spring, when the Smithfield Youth Council decided to establish an official student-led executive board. At the end of May, the Smithfield Youth Council officially established its first executive board, consisting of a chairperson, vice chairperson, and a secretary. Shortly following the initial elections, we elected a media chairperson to help manage the Smithfield Youth Council's online presence on platforms such as Facebook and our own page on the town website. During the summer, we remodeled the council to better fit our vision. One of the most notable changes we made was the creation of committees. Within the council, members gather in committees to work on specific projects of their choice. Implementing committees allowed the council to begin focusing on more than one project at a time, therefore making us more productive. In order to accommodate the work that the committees require, the executive board also created workshop meetings. These meetings, which are different from the typical monthly presentation-based full council meetings, give council members the opportunity to work solely on their committee projects. These meetings help council members find time to work on their projects within their busy schedules, and also offer an aspect of in-person collaboration among attendees as they work on their projects. So far, these meetings have been very beneficial to the council, and have allowed council members to accomplish critical tasks such as planning our car wash fundraiser. This past summer, we hosted a car wash fundraiser at Alltown on August 19th. It was hosted from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and we raised $750. This is our first fundraiser of the session and organized by our car wash committee. Due to the success of the event, we plan on making the Smithfield Youth Council car wash an annual event. To prepare for the car wash, we had a workshop meeting. At this meeting, we designed flyers and discussed the event. To organize the event, we devised rotating schedules and shifts that the council members would follow while at the car wash. With the money we raised, we plan on using it to fund other projects, such as the Drop and Shop event, a Christmas-themed babysitting event that the council holds each year. We look forward to our upcoming events and are grateful for the support we received during the car wash. In order to maintain organization, the Smithfield Youth Council uses Google platforms such as Google Drive and Google Classroom to post meeting information and other important materials applicable to the council's work. These platforms are critical to helping the council function smoothly. I will be discussing the Smithfield Youth Council's social media accounts and website. As the media officer of Smithfield Youth Council, it is my job to manage the social media accounts and create and maintain the website. On our Facebook, I post about upcoming events the Smithfield Youth Council will be hosting or other events the Smithfield Youth Council will take part in. Upcoming meetings will be posted so people interested in joining Smithfield Youth Council will have the chance to see what our organization is like. Having a Facebook account will allow adults, parents, and students to see what the Smithfield Youth Council has accomplished and what events that will be happening in the future. They can also spread the word by reposting our information. The Smithfield Youth Council members will also be posting upcoming events on their personal social media accounts on platforms such as Instagram in order to promote Smithfield Youth Council events to other people. The Smithfield Youth Council website is where all of our information will be found. You can find our website on the town website under Smithfield Youth Council. On the webpage, you can find our Facebook, our mission statement, application link to our email, and logo on our main page. Through links, you will be able to find our events that have already occurred with a brief explanation. You will be able to find pictures of the executive board officers and personal statements from each, a calendar of upcoming events and meetings, and the types of meetings that will be held, along with the communication methods we use.
The Smithfield Youth Council has an upcoming Halloween event called Haunted Hallways. This event will be held on October 24th, 2023 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Smithfield High School. Haunted Hallways is an event oriented towards younger students of the community, where the students will be able to trick or treat around the classrooms of Smithfield High School. There will also be arts and crafts, snacks, and read alouds from other local libraries. Spread the word about this event because it's going to be a fun one.
Last year, Kaya and I put together a presentation on bullying from the parents at Smithfield Youth Council. We wanted to share students' perspectives on bullying. In the presentation, we discussed what bullying is, how parents should approach their child/children about bullying from a child's perspective, and the effects of bullying. We gathered our information from children through Google Forms that was sent out to parents and students in GMS and SHS. We also had a panel of administration, including Assistant Superintendent Dr. Monaco, Smithfield High School Principal Mr. Kelly, Smithfield High School Assistant Principal Dr. Amity, and Gallagher Middle School Assistant Principal Mr. Burns. At the end of the presentation and panel speaking, we opened the floor to questions. We allowed the audience to ask questions to Kaya and I or to the members of our panel. The presentation took place before a parent council meeting, and the Tri-County Community Action brought information to the presentation to hand out to the audience. After the presentation, Councilman John Tassoni asked Kaya and I to be on his TV show on Recovery TV. On the show, we answered questions about our bullying presentation and what we took away from the presentation. The segment will be aired on Saturday, October 28th on MyRI TV at 10:30 p.m. and on WPRI 12 at 11:30 p.m. It will also be aired on Sunday, October 29th on Fox Providence at 10:30 a.m. and on the CW Providence at 11:30 a.m.
Thank you all for listening to what we have had to share. The Smithfield Youth Council is very grateful for your support, and we look forward to making more presentations like these in the future. If you have any questions about the Smithfield Youth Council or would like to reach out to us in general, please email me at abruley25@spsstudents.org. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you very much. Nice win tonight. That was excellent. All right, minutes. Move that the minutes of the October 3rd, 2023 executive session meeting held pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46-5A1. Personnel to interview Frank Smith, Zachary Smith, and Angelica Bovis for possible appointment to a town board or commission, and Rhode Island General Law, Section 42-46-5A2, litigation to be approved as recorded and sealed.
So move. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item B, move that the minutes of the October 3rd, 2023 open session meeting be approved as recorded.
So move. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 7, consider, discuss, and act upon the following possible appointments and reappointments. Planning Board appointment with a term expiring in May of 2024.
Mr. President, I move that the Smithfield Town Council appoint Angelica Bovis to the Planning Board with a term expiring in May of 2024.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I trust that Ms. Bovis will work hard and fulfill her duties to the best of her ability, which is why I'm voting yes on this appointment. On a separate note, I ask that my council colleagues and future councils, especially when faced with multiple candidates, so to speak, might take a deeper consideration into what expertise a board needs and can benefit from at that particular time. My professional opinion as a recruiter, as somebody who looks at hundreds of resumes per week to try to find the best match to a given job, is to take a more strategic approach in terms of a person's qualifications and best fit, in addition to the whole package, especially with regard to the planning and zoning boards. Appointing individuals who boast backgrounds that provide expert insight into the subject matter specific to a board would clearly add significant positive value to the town. Of course, we appreciate anyone who expresses interest in serving on these boards and know that it can be quite difficult getting individuals to commit to volunteering their time. I suggest that when the town is lucky enough to get such people to volunteer, assuming there's no conflicts, we could capitalize on that opportunity and appoint them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board of Canvassers appointment with a term expiring in March of 2024.
Mr. President, I recuse.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I move that the Smithfield Town Council appoint Grace Toppy as an alternate on the Board of Canvassers with a term expiring in March of 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to public hearings. Consider, discuss, and act upon approving a new B Victualler liquor license for the Boardroom LLC DBA The Boardroom, 95 Douglas Pike, with the hours of operation to be Monday through Sunday, 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations, local ordinances, and final approval from the Rhode Island Department of Health. This is a public hearing, so if anyone wants to come up and speak, just state your name and your address, please.
My name's Dominic Greco, Greco for the record, and I am here representing the Boardroom. There were some questions earlier. There was an email sent out earlier about a parking issue from an abutter. So I addressed that at last minute. So if I could just pass these out to the board.
Do we know if the police or fire took a look at this? Or is this the first time we're seeing this tonight? Police or fire look at this?
Yes, we're in the process of a renovation. So before we went through with a full renovation, we have to go through the fire and the building permit. We have a demo permit now. So we're going through a construction phase. So we have to get fire approval and building plans approval. Prior to that, we wanted to get our business license approved and our liquor license approved before we invested a lot of money into this facility.
There's a home, 1 Twin River Road, located on the right near the property. Is that part of the parcel that you own? Is that something that you're going to be knocking down, or is that not affected?
No, it's not. It's a separate parcel of land behind us.
One of the other things that came up, and I know that the clerk was asking for, was a seating plan inside there. What is the capacity? What is the intent of the operation?
So again, we're in the process of doing a build out. We haven't finalized the interior plans yet. We're still going through that, but I wanted to make sure that the town had no issues issuing a business license predicated, subject to the full seating plan, fire inspection, building inspection. This is a very costly renovation, and I just want to make sure that the town's on board with the liquor license you know, it's gonna be a 5 or 6 month build out, and I don't wanna come in 6 months, say, okay, we're all ready to go, turnkey. I like my liquor license, and the town says, well, we can't issue one because either there's no more left in the town to give out, or we have an issue with something else that you may have. So there was one issue that was arised about parking. There's, I think, 15 parking spots on that plan. And then I own, ironically, on the building next door. So we have adjacent parking with a private walkway in the back of 85 Douglas. So I own the building to the right of that establishment.
Are you going to keep this 2 stories?
Possibly not. We did some demo in the interior, and there's actually a lot more than what I anticipated. If I knew it was underneath the walls at the beginning, I probably wouldn't be standing here in front of you, but
Okay.
the building's gonna be, you know, renovated, so it's feasible for this type of operation.
What's this property zone that
It was commercial.
was
It
commercial?
was an insurance agency. This is a public hearing, so if you'd like to speak as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Tom Frezza. I live at 20 Twin River Road. My family also owns 3 and 5 Twin River Road, which is on the side of where they're building this place, this business. And we have a few questions about it because their side door is 100 feet, maybe less, to our front door, which seems like it's in the back, but that's actually the front door of the house. We want to know, you know, we kind of want to know, it's going to be serving alcohol till 1 o'clock in the morning. We have tenants living in the house. Are they going to be subjected to noise by bands? I mean, we live across the street and we can hear Rocco's when they got a band going, you know, till whatever time, which I don't mind. It doesn't bother us, but I'm just saying this is going to be very close to that house. You know, we have a lot of concerns about, is there going to be an outdoor deck patio built? Are there, you know, the hour of operations, parking, which he already, Mr. Greco already addressed. So we do have a few questions about what's going to happen.
We can't do much for the seating plan and stuff. It's a business license, we can contingent.
The solicitor was stating that you can,
I mean, you could approve it contingent upon police, fire, building weighing in, and some of these other issues, I mean, with respect to noise and bands, and, I mean, those need to be addressed.
That was
That's all we
just
wanted,
goes
you know, we just have a few concerns about that, so.
So, yeah, I respect obviously those concerns. If I was a homeowner living near there, I would obviously have some of the similar concerns that you do. This isn't going to be a establishment that we have rock bands in the back. I mean, if we want to put that into some type of language, it says on here, which I'm not sure why, 6 to 1 a.m. On my application, it said 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. There's not a pool table inside. There's no draft beers. This establishment is going to be a high-end luxury cigar bar for people to enjoy a cigar. I think it's needed in the area. I frequent places around, and I think it's a good place for it. We run a great establishment. I don't say that you're not going to hear music or loud noise from the house that's right up against the property line. We'll do our best, obviously, to be a good neighbor. Your tenant. We'll do our best, obviously, if it's that close, to try to keep the noise level down, but it's not going to be something that we're going to be at, 1 in the morning. It's a 10 to 10 operation.
Yeah.
Anyone else in the public would like to speak before we close the public hearing?
There's been no application for an entertainment license, has there?
And they have no food for outdoor seating or anything, so
That would be, they would have to separately apply for outdoor seating?
it could have been applied for at the time. They did not go that route. It can be applied for separately later on, but.
And that would be an agenda item that obviously has to
Correct.
come before the council for hearing again.
Mhm.
This is just a business license.
Strictly.
A liquor license, okay.
Food alcohol licenses.
Anyone else from the public want to speak before we close this and?
So see that.
So, Any discussion with the council?
Anthony, what's your recommendation?
Obviously, it's the council's discretion, but you can approve it subject to, somebody's gonna weigh in on the parking plan, because you just got this tonight. So building, zoning, police and fire need to weigh in on whatever plans have been submitted to ensure, obviously, they're complying with local ordinances and state law.
I'd move to continue to our next meeting because, just in case, because I'd like to see exactly what they recommend. I don't want to just make it subject to approval. I want to see exactly what they recommend since we have, a home that's in such proximity to the establishment.
I second that motion.
Any more discussion from the council?
I think that's reasonable.
All those in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Licenses, consider, discuss, and act upon approving a new vitrilene license for the Boardroom LLC DBA The Boardroom, 95 Douglas Pike, with the hours of operation be Monday through Sunday from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. Yeah, it's the same thing. so.
Same motion, Mr. President, as the previous one. Next meeting.
We have
To the next meeting.
Yeah, same motion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Consider, discuss, and act upon approving a one-day Class F beer, wine, liquor license for St. Philip's Church, 622 Putnam Pike, for a wine tasting to take place on Saturday, November 4th, 2023, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. as applied, subject to state regulations and local ordinances.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Old business, excuse me, old business, there was none. New business, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing the fire department to purchase one 2024 Ford Expedition through the Greater Boston Police Council and Mass Public Safety Master Pricing Agreement in the amount of $69,520.28.
Good evening, Chief Seltzer from the
Here
Fire
for a while.
Department.
Thank you.
So this particular item you have in front of you was in the budget, in our capital budget for this year for the fire department. This is the replacement of the duty deputy chief's vehicle. And as explained in here, the current vehicle will stay as a reserve. So when maintenance is done on that vehicle, we have a backup vehicle for it, which we don't have right now. And the remaining funds that are left in that capital budget will be used towards the radio equipment, but it'll come under 80,000 when all is done.
Okay.
Move passage.
Seconded.
Any more discussion?
This is an item that I did see in the budget.
Yes.
It was budgeted as at 80,000.
Yes.
So what do we do with the leftover money? I think there's what, 10,000?
There's not going to be any left over.
So the other piece of it is the radio equipment that they have to outfit with it. So that's a separate vendor, and he'll pretty much, I know he'll use every penny.
Yeah,
But if there's 1,000 left, we'll make sure we save it.
Yeah, it's gonna be for the radio equipment that's going in the console, the rear command console. It's gonna be around $8,000 roughly.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item B, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing the fire department to administer FEMA grant EMW-2021-FG-06832, Regional Mutual Aid Technical Rescue Grant.
So as the information I provide you on this, I actually wrote this grant. We were the host community for this. This is a project that we've been working on for the last 2 or 3 years through the Greater Woonsocket Fire Chiefs Mutual Aid Association. And this will actually provide a resource that we don't presently have in this area to have folks trained in technical rescue that can be immediately deployed on a mutual aid basis. There are teams available through Warwick, and they cover the southern part of the state. East Providence has one that covers the eastern part of the state, the East Coast area, and this would cover the northern part of the state. And really, this is just distributing the funds. We have people, I think I listed all the different departments involved. And as we've done other regional grants in the past, we have distributed funds as well because we were in there as the host community. So, but this is an interesting resource that's going to be very valuable to the area to have people that can deploy immediately if we have any kind of technical rescue. And we used to have a state USAR team, and unfortunately, the downfall to that was it couldn't be deployed as quickly as mutual aid responses. So this is kind of the model that the state went to a few years back, and this would cover the northern part of the state. Plus, we help each other mutual aid-wise as needed.
Move passage.
Thank you.
Second it.
Any discussion? No discussion? No, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item C, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing the fire department to purchase an inflatable firehouse from All Star Inflatables, Inc. in the amount of $10,970.00.
This is another grant that we got, which is a fire prevention grant through the Assistance of Firefighters Grant Program. This particular item, we specifically had picked out and specified. And it's pretty neat because it's an inflatable firehouse for kids to utilize. We bring it out to the schools, the daycares, and almost, we're actually, this being Fire Prevention Month, we're doing this stuff right now. So you can see we have a match and obviously the federal funds. And like I had indicated, sole source, because there's only one place you can purchase it from, so.
Move passage.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item D, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing the fire department to purchase a Bullseye digital extinguisher from Fire Tech and Safety of New England, Inc. in the amount of $23,259.00.
So this is another fire prevention grant that we got prior to the other one. This is a more technology type of fire extinguisher trainer versus what we actually have, one that you use propane gas and you get actual flames out of it. This one can be used inside or outside. So it's easy to bring it to businesses to train them on it. And again, this was a AFG fire prevention grant, and the purchase price is based upon the Mass Public Safety Master Pricing Agreement, which is accepted in Rhode Island.
Move passage.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Item E, consider, discuss, and act upon the dissolution of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force. The purpose of the Smithfield Equity Task Force was to advise the town in developing recommendations that further the advancement of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the town of Smithfield. This has been going on since 2001. And I see we'll have a lot of public comment. I just ask everyone, state your name, your address, and we have a nice adult conversation about this situation. Not situation, this agenda item. Or the town council wants to speak.
Well, let's before we dive into it, let me just say that this item on the agenda kind of came a little bit of a surprise to me when I saw it last week. In discussions that we've had in the past, it was always about kind of coming up with a game plan for what we wanted the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force to come up with and then present to the town council. And from our perspective, it's been almost our lack of response with follow-up. I don't think this is appropriate to dissolve the commission. I would be asking and urging the council to table this motion. I think that the Diversity and Equity and Inclusion Task Force stimulates conversations that are difficult to have, but they're very important to have. I firmly believe that this commission serves a very important purpose to the progression of this town in terms of our acceptance, in terms of us being welcoming. And I think that a lot of what comes into the confusion with the diversity and equality is many people confuse the term equality with assimilation. Nobody is telling anyone how you have to live. Nobody's forcing anyone to believe one way or another. If you don't like this committee, don't go to the meetings. Simple as that. Has nothing to do with you. It doesn't affect you. Other than that, I'm looking forward to hearing the very enlightened discussion coming from the community. And I'd like to make a motion to table this item.
Is there a second?
Yeah, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Is there a second on this? Because if there isn't a second, I would have a different motion.
I'm gonna pass this if there's not a second. So. Is there a second on this? No, okay. Pass the gavel. I'm gonna second.
Okay, at this point, we would be in
Discussion.
order for discussion. Okay. The way I read the original resolution establishing this task force, it is a task force which was designed to have, to me, the word task force means that it's designed to have a beginning and an end. And that there was no end date put on this. I think that was improper. The task force was supposed to report to the town council with its recommendations on advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion. No recommendations, to my knowledge, have been received by the town council, either the prior town council or this one. This town council met with the task force in a workshop setting on April 11th, at which time we expressed our concerns that there was nothing being produced by this task force. And so now 2 years and 6 months have passed, and we have yet to receive any recommendation from the task force. And I'm thinking that maybe the problem is that this is a task force that's very heavy with government employees. And maybe, you know, a group like this should not have been set up having all of these, there are only 3 residents on the task force, and the rest are all government employees, the town manager, the chief of police, school committee member, school department people. And to me, it seems that this is just not an appropriate design for a task force of this nature. So what I would recommend the council do, and I would, wait a minute.
The motion's been made and seconded, so there has to be a vote on that. Then you could come forward with another motion, but you can
Okay.
keep going.
Okay, well, what I will recommend is that we allow the task force to provide us with a recommendation by the end of this year. Then that the this task force terminate, and that that will allow a private group to form, which I think is a more appropriate group. And then that group can come to the town council or the school committee with any concerns that they have about problems of this nature in the town. I think that, to me, makes a lot more sense and would actually perhaps give us some progress in this area, rather than having this government-dominated task force, which I really don't understand what the whole purpose of this task force was from the beginning.
One thing that I can agree to, Mr. Vice President, is that when we put together the task force, and one of the reasons why I'm actually motioning, would like to hold on to this item, table it, is we do need to reformulate the composition of this advisory commission. And, with all of the boards and commissions that we have in existence in Smithfield, we have over 30 right now. They exist as resident boards to advise the council on how to proceed. Having a board or commission of, town employees advising the town is not really, the best concept, but it's still, to the vice president's point, to me, it's still not worthy of dissolving this committee at this point or putting a time limit on the committee to achieve this. I feel that by tabling the item tonight, it'll give us time to get together with the board and commission again to formulate what the plan is going forward, and then we can continue to work with them. But in terms of allowing the committee to go back to the residents, one of the reasons why this task force came into fruition was because it was privatized, and by putting it into the town hall, it legitimized the cause in my mind. I think that it is a legitimate concern of many residents in the town, and I'll still stand by tabling this item tonight.
To what? Just for the next meeting?
No, table it indefinitely.
I will not support that.
So there's a motion and there's a second.
Need to vote on it.
You need to vote on it, vote now.
Okay, we've had our discussion. All those in favor of the motion to table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
No, the noes have it.
So is there another motion?
I can't make the motion. I gotta.
All right, is there another motion on the table?
I move that the Smithfield Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force be required to submit its recommendations, if any, to the town council by December 31st, 2023, and that at which point the task force's objectives having been completed in accordance with the resolution of April 20th, 2021, that at that point the task force would become terminated.
Second.
Discussion on the council? Does the council have any more questions? Then we'll let the public speak. No?
Oh, they can talk, yeah.
They can speak. Yes.
Thank you. Ben Case, 42 Forestwood Drive, member of the Smithfield School Committee, also a member or represent the school committee on the task force. Mr. Iannotti, Mr. Kilduff, I think you hit the nail on the head on terms of the composition is certainly an issue. It's definitely a challenge, but I think I'm up here just to give a little more overview of where we started, where we've been, and where the plan is to go forward. So the task force was created in April 2021. The mission was to bring together community members, town leaders, departments, department heads, with the mission of helping make our community a more welcoming and inviting place for not just our residents, but also businesses. The creation of it demonstrated a real commitment by the town council for the residents of Smithfield. It was a proactive step that has actually served, I don't know if you're aware of this, but as a model for other communities. Since the creation of it, other similar task force or standing committees have been formed in places like Barrington and East Greenwich, to name a few. This work's not easy, and it's not quick. It's difficult. but it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary work for our community to make it a better place. We're a wonderful town. I moved here. I moved my family here. I send my kids to school here because I love this town. But we should always be looking forward. How can we make it a better place, a welcoming place for all? And so continuing the support of this work or some future iteration of it sends a message that you guys support making this community a better place, always looking forward. So some questions have come up about kind of what has been accomplished so far. The workshop, although somewhat tense, I think was actually a good discussion because it helped refocus our efforts a little bit. So a little summary of kind of what has happened so far with the task force. We've really accomplished a couple things. One is education. We started as a group of department heads and community members, and we began bringing in a variety of groups to educate us. This is tough stuff. It's very difficult stuff. So we brought in a whole variety of speakers from in the community and outside the community. We've started developing community partnerships, baby steps. We have a lot more to go, but we've heard from our police force, our resource officers. We've had our World of Difference program at Gallagher come present and share with us the work that they're doing. The Greenville Library has come and shared with us the programs that they've created. We've had a presentation from the assistant superintendent regarding an equity audit that was done at the school and how that could potentially be something that we could model or utilize as a town. Tri-County community, which works closely with the town, came to discuss services they could extend to help us with our work. We had Kira Willis, you know her, Kira Willis, I think, who is a DEI consultant who came on her own volition. She was not paid, we didn't have funding, but she did come to give us some guidance on kind of how to move forward. We've met with Neighborhood Health Plan. We've met recently with the Bryant University DEI office, and meetings have been held with the East Smithfield librarian as well. That's the laying the groundwork, kind of learning, getting started. But it's been tough. None of us are experts in this, and this definitely takes time. We have organized community events, not as many as we'd like, but we did have, we've had two Chalk the Walk events where we've had upwards of 500 people come, spread messages of kindness and such outside the sidewalks at Gallagher Middle School. But I absolutely agree and acknowledge we've stumbled for sure. I think we got the rug pulled out from us on one of our goals where we didn't have the funding to pursue kind of a townwide audit. We stumbled figuring out how to form an RFP, and basically we're told we didn't have that funding available to us, so we had to regroup. And regrouping's tough, and as you mentioned, it is very government heavy. It's tough putting our department heads in a position, in a paid position. They can't really act on their own accord because they're representing the town. It's just very awkward. There's only 3 community members on there. So I would definitely love to see a kind of a reorganization to get many more community members on board, having an addition of our library, librarians and such. We took to heart, Mr. Ioannidis, what you talked about and kind of, where are we going? What have we done? And so we haven't had a meeting since May. We're supposed to have one 2 weeks ago. I got canceled. Since then, over the summer, several members have worked very hard to start really exploring and gathering research, meeting with a variety of new people, and have since put together a draft strategic plan based on the goals that we have. It hasn't been discussed yet with the task force. We were going to do that at our last meeting. It's a draft. Here's our goals, here's some action steps. What do the members want to add to it and move forward? So we're hoping to do that. But essentially, I do agree that maybe we do need to move in the future towards more of a standing committee, I think with many more community members. But the work of the task force should continue until that can step up and take on that work. But I just want to remind everyone that this work it's not isolated to Smithfield. This is work that's ongoing throughout the nation. And I think some people have different concepts of kind of what the work entails. And I think, Councilman Toppy, we had this conversation at the workshop. Really, what is the mission? The mission is to make a great community better, even better, always looking to make us better, make it more welcoming to all people, young and old, male, female, able-bodied, people with disabilities, those with mental health issues, people with intellectual disabilities, people of color, people of different ethnicities, different faiths, sexual orientations, different socioeconomic levels. I think this work needs to continue. And if it does transition into more of a standing committee, that's wonderful. But a commitment by the town council to say, we recognize that we want to make our community a better place. We all haven't had the same experience in Smithfield. Some people have had an incredible experience and a welcoming experience, and some others haven't. And we want to make sure that as many people can enjoy the fruits of this town as much as possible. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tammy Lawrence. I live on Highview Drive in Smithfield. I have a comment. Mr. Kilduff spoke of being open to conversation. He wants to keep the task force, and he wants to have an open conversation. However, I emailed the committee, the board, the council in August, and he did not respond to me with some just concerns. Several of you did, and he did not respond to have that open conversation or even thank you for writing to me. I did not receive anything. So then we sent the email and said I have not heard back. And his email was to come up and come to the meeting and discuss it. And he just tabled it. His vote was to table it. So I don't appreciate that. So we need to think a little bit beyond ourselves and going further, respond to town people. Because you're concerned about them, but I didn't get a response. Secondly, diversity is something I care about. I care about people. I did write to the committee stating that I do feel that Smithfield is very open. There are some people that maybe you're never going to change their mind. There are some outliers that are not maybe what you want them to be. But I feel during this task force, when I looked at the minutes, I didn't see anything happening in the minutes. I didn't see a goal being achieved, and I didn't see a measurable goal. So my question is, what is the measurable goal? How are you going to measure what you're doing in this task force? What is the end result going to be? You say it's a great community, it's going to be better. What do you mean by better? Because people do move here, and they keep moving here, and we keep building here. So that was my question when I had, question and comment when I had emailed the committee.
Thank you.
Hi there,
Hi.
Julie Dorsey, 278 Stillwater Road. So to answer Tammy and I go way back because she's been a parent at La Perche, where I'm the principal, and I'm also have my children in the school system. So measurable would be that there are no more racial incidences, that there are no kids being called the N-word or other words, that the families of Smithfield stood up at the equity audit when we discussed it at the school committee meeting, and they shared their personal experiences. It may be welcome and opening to people who look like me. For white people, it's not as opening to people of color. It's not as opening to people who have a different sexual orientation. And so that would be that measurable goal, that we don't have incidences of hate in the schools, in the town, in other people's minds. We're not going to change everybody's mind, but if you think Smithfield is great, it needs to be great for everyone. It needs to be welcoming for every family who wants to live here, who moves here. There shouldn't be some people pulled over by police and other people not pulled over. There shouldn't be people being called, as I said, I'm the principal. I'm also married to a beautiful Black man. I have these beautiful interracial children. As the principal, there's been people who have called other people the N-word right at my beautiful school. My children themselves have experienced that racial tones and words and discrimination. And I would assume that every person on this council and every person sitting out here would not want any child to experience that, any family to experience that. And honestly, if you are someone who lives in this town and doesn't want someone who looks differently than you to be in this town, that's who we want to move. That's who we don't want. because we want to be welcoming, we want to be inclusive in the schools, in the neighborhoods, in the town, everywhere that we go. We want to see everyone feel that they are included, that they are safe, that they are valued. That's what we preach in the Smithfield Public Schools, and I certainly hope the town would preach that. I agree that the council needs to be, the task force should have more residents, right? Absolutely. But to then say that it has to end at a certain point, that's where maybe that motion needs to be rethought. The town task force, the DEI task force specifically asked you all for money. They were denied that money. They all said, we are not the experts. We want to learn from an expert so we can create those measurable goals, so we can make sure that we are held accountable and that we are making progress in this town.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak?
Jasmine Sunis, 78 Mansfield Road. So, listening here, I would, oh, can you hear me now? Okay, this isn't good for height. I think that a really key point is that this isn't work that ends or should just end. This type of work, I feel, is critical work that should be woven really into the fabric of our town. And in order for that to happen, I think there needs to be it needs to be a town initiative, whether that is in the form of a freestanding committee, and perhaps that would be a better venue or format for this type of work, then that's great. But I do believe that the DEI task force or committee, or whatever it ends up being called, is vital for promoting diversity and equity in our community. It's crucial for addressing important issues. Like I said, it should remain a town initiative endorsed by the council to show a collective commitment to these values, ensuring that there's also needed structure, accountability, and proper resources. More, as Ben mentioned, more progress has been made over the summer, forming these really positive relationships and partnerships with local libraries, other town entities, and businesses. In fact, some of the more high-profile businesses that we have within town. Completely disbanding this or putting an end date to this work would be premature and would disrupt these efforts. Positive and forward-thinking work like this takes time, and long-term outcomes may not be immediately clear. But continued support, possibly, and I would hope, with a consultant or guidance from some of these established partnerships, will help. Our town task force members, including the dedicated volunteers who courageously spoke out in support of our town's LGBT youth during school committee meetings, exemplify what a DEI task force or committee needs. Their powerful statements questioning what was happening at that time, in noting the importance of perception and protecting the culture and the reputation of our town and of our schools and of our youth across the board, are invaluable. Let's maintain the town's active involvement in this critical effort and continue this positive and good work, because quite frankly, I feel that it's needed now more than ever. Thank you.
David Pasquale, 101 Austin Avenue. When are you people going to stop pandering to all these people? I worked in an industry where we had I mean, you name the racial background we had. We all got along. There's never any trouble. Oh, yeah, you know, the heated discussions and things like that. But people solve their own problems. This business of the government has to get involved, and we have to have committees, and we have to have task forces. Makes a lot of bullshit.
Thank you for your done.
I said,
Thank you very much. I asked us to be adults. You said that. I don't know why you did that, sir. You're up. Thank you.
Hello. I want to thank the town council for having this discussion because I think these discussions can be productive and are useful. So, as some of you may know, I was sort of involved in the beginning of the discussion around the graffiti and so on and so forth, but I haven't been particularly involved. I went back and I looked through all of the minutes and kind of like made little notes. There have been good discussions had. There have been things that are good conversations to bring up, even though they may be difficult. There has been good work done by this task force. It may not be things that are concrete, but none of these conversations would have been had it not been for the task force. So just to sort of take a look at it from that point. I think these conversations, just like this one, the conversations that are had in the task force can help move the town forward. Things don't go away by not speaking about them. It makes people uncomfortable. That's just the way that it is. So I just want to say, like, I do think that there's been advancement and progress, and this is another piece of the progress, talking about how to maybe reshape the task force. In looking back at the notes, just as an outsider, so there was no real leadership. It's a brand new idea. And it's kind of novel. And so to have expectations that a group of people that are complete non-experts taking on a new kind of thing and thinking that they're gonna produce great work quickly, or just, you know, have like these big things happening, I think is, without leadership, there's been a real lack of communication, I think, between the town council and the task force. I think that the town council should have more conversations and perhaps provide a little bit more leadership to talk about, like, take a look at this piece of our community or that piece of our community, or ask questions, because asking the town council saying they want recommendations from the task force, like, there's so many topics under the TEI, right? So it's such a broad request that in 3 months, when there's no leadership, there's no one, no consultant sort of guiding, right? No one here is an expert. This is new stuff. So I think that's not realistic. Again, the discussion of how to move this forward, readjusting the committee membership. So I think the expectations have been outsized. I think there's been a lack of communication. There's been a lack of financial support, to be realistic. All these are solvable through discussion and compromise. I really do think that these discussions and this work is worth doing and continuing to do, and having it supported by the town government is important. It's like I think Sean said, it's validating, I don't know who said that, to have it as a government entity of some sort. I don't think it should be ended. I think the conversations are worth continuing to have, and I'm really glad for this conversation about how to do it better. So thank you.
Thank you.
Did I say my name and address?
What's that?
Did I say my name and address?
Yes, in the beginning. Hello.
Hi, my name is Susan Branch. I live in Smithfield. My kids have gone all through Smithfield schools. My grandkids are going through Smithfield schools. I have to tell you, this is the best town that you could ever bring kids up in. And I think some of this stuff needs to be left to the kids because they're figuring it out. The kids are doing a really good job of making their way through and accepting other people. And I think that's what this whole thing is coming down to. We're diverse. Our town is like diverse. Our kids have become diverse. And I think we've done a really good job. So I want to thank all of you in the way that the town has been going because I'm very happy with it. I think going forward, we have to be extremely careful about what we're doing.
Thank you. Joe Toppy, 20 Alpine Ridge. Now, obviously, my comments have nothing to do with anything that my daughter thinks. So, I had a big long spiel that I was going to do tonight, but redoing the task force, I have a couple of points. Politically, this group is not diverse. Show me a conservative member on this task force. So there's a huge contradiction in what you're supposed to stand for. So instead, you have one group controlling the narrative, but there's more. My daughter spoke up at one of these task force meetings and was greeted the next morning by a long knife sticking in a tree right outside her front door. Was it a message? Agree with us or else? I see no outrage when this incident was reported. If my daughter was a person of color or gay, this would have been considered a hate crime and been on the front page of Projo. But she's white and straight, so nothing. I think at any of these task force meetings, an exchange of ideas, people are not supposed to agree on everything, as I said with the council. Not as everything is supposed to be a 5-0 vote on everything that goes through. Same thing with the school committee. And one of the things that we have is any contrary opinion is met with something that was extreme. And that's why I was up to disband this task force. But I'm willing to see what the new task force would be made up of. And I think there should be conservative voices on that new group.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak? Any more discussion from the council?
Yeah. I'll just make a quick comment, yeah. I do want to just advise that we are in the process of reviewing all boards and commissions, in case anyone thinking we're singling you guys out. That's not the case. I support having a like-minded group of citizens, get together and do what they feel they need to do, and whatever the goal is in regards to the subject matter. I think the task force was made with good intentions, as I think many things are. It seemed to be, a knee-jerk reaction to one specific incident that was investigated, adjudicated appropriately by the police. That's their job. I did attend that work session with the task force, and I asked 2 to 3 times, what are the goals? What does it look like? What does this look like in Smithfield? I was met with no answers. The only answer I received from a school department official is that she would like to see zero, like Ms. Dorsey also said, that they don't want to see any more racial incidents and this and that. Of course, we would love that. That is not an achievable goal. You're always going to have children who say stupid, and adults for that matter, who say stupid things, who act like idiots. You're never going to change everyone's behavior. And I do not think, the point is for me, the government does not need to be involved in this, in trying to change people's behavior. I'm all for showing everyone, regardless of how, you identify or whatever, showing them respect and kindness. That's common sense. But the government does not need to be involved in changing people's behavior. So a quote that I, from an article I read, the government's involved in too much already, let's face it. We want to, eliminate some things. So government is responsible for creating and sustaining markets, enforcing contracts, protecting private property, and producing systems of education and infrastructure that allow commerce to function efficiently. That to me is what government should be involved in, and really that's it. So, you know, I don't understand why we have to be focused on all of our inherent differences when we can be focusing on what we have in common. We all want to live free, prosperous, and happy lives without the government's intervention. Let's work to promote that instead. So, like I said, I'm all for if you know, wanted to have a citizen group, but I don't support the government being involved in this.
Thank you.
Yes, and I would echo that and say that, you know, the end of the task force does not mean the end of the work to make Smithfield a more welcoming place. And that's everyone's goal. And this task force model just doesn't work. So why not have something that does work? Why not have something, we don't need something that has government involvement. A true community task force could bring their concerns to the council or to the school committee. A community task force that's truly representative of the community could be much more effective than a task force that's constituted in this manner. So, so I think that you know, I think that we can do a lot better, a better job in making Smithfield a more welcoming community. We can have a much better model without government involvement. You know, the government, this town council is not the government. Town hall is not the government. You are the government. You are the town. We're not just the government. It's not just the government body that's elected. It's you. You are the town. And, you know, we rely on you to tell us what the issues are that we need to address as a town council.
Sorry, just, if you want to speak, you can come up and talk. Yes, yeah.
I don't understand why you have 30 committees. You just said we have 30 committees, that you're reviewing these 30 committees. And so I'm looking right at you, Mrs. Topp, because you're the one who said it. So you just said we have 30 committees, you're reviewing all of the committees, or someone said it, you're reviewing. So what is it about this DEI task force, this committee, that you're trying to shut this down? That's what I don't understand.
I said we're reviewing all committees. We've had a workshop with the planning board. We've had one with the budget board. I plan on having more. I plan on going to every meeting of every board because, you know, that's what I feel I should do. I mean, you know, because I see things that, you know, may not necessarily be, you know, following ordinances or this and that. I think it's good to take a fresh look at everything. And that's all I was trying to say. I'm not, because this is on the agenda, at least for me, is not because I'm
How
trying
did
to
they
single
even,
you
I
out.
don't, the committee members, the people who have served, were not even informed about this coming on to here to be, you know, to be gotten rid of, basically. And so how did it even come to be that this particular, out of all the 30 committees that you have, that this would be the one that you're trying to get rid of?
I should have emailed everyone out. I went away Friday night when I found out it was on the agenda. I was in New York. I wasn't around.
Right, I
I
wasn't around for
apologize.
the weekend either, but it doesn't have to come on until a Friday to be on here for, I'm sure that you had other discussions about it.
Advertised on the Friday before the Tuesday meeting, goes on the Secretary of State's website. The agenda internally is finalized on the Wednesday before the council meeting.
It seems odd that it would be this task force, this committee, that this group is trying to get rid of. But we want to be open and inclusive and welcoming, and people feel valued and safe. People don't feel valued and safe. And if it's one person who doesn't feel valued and safe, you should care about that. That should not let you sleep at night, that even one of your citizens doesn't feel valued and safe. You should want to do something about that. You should have task forces and committees, because not everyone feels safe and welcome and included in this town.
Thank you.
John Natoli, 99 Dean Avenue, also I'm chairman of the school committee. Excuse me. Earlier this year, we had a discussion at the school committee. It was quite a few meetings, and it dealt with an issue regarding transgender students, whether or not parents should be notified of gender change or not. We had a lot of discussion on it, and a lot of people did it in a very civil manner, and they, on both sides of the issue, they let us know what their thoughts were. There's a small group of people that took to the idea that they should be out calling everybody bigots, that they should tell people who did not like a situation that they should move out of town. There were people that made attempts or suggestions against school committee members' employment or their families. There were comments against a certain parent regarding his family, one father in town. That's not welcoming. That's not inclusive. Just because people disagreed with one issue. Now, no matter what your side on that issue is, we cannot function if we're not going to allow open debate, open discussion among people in this town. If we're not going to be inclusive of ideas, then we might as well be exclusive. I mean, I don't want to be in a town where just because you have a certain idea, right away you're pushed off to the side. One of the reasons it's important, some of these people that were bringing these things up were people that were associated with the town of Smithfield. And that's not good, including a few on the task force. Not all on the task force, but a few of them were. That's not inclusive. That's not what we want to do. The second thing is, tonight I'm listening, I'm hearing people say they don't know how to do it, they need to bring in experts. When do we form a committee and we have to bring the committee up to speed on something like that? That's not how we do a committee. If they're people in our town, they should have their opinions, and that's good, and their opinion should come forth and be presented to you in some form of a format that you can act on, if you need to act on it, but not make them intelligent on the subject. That's the first time I really ever heard something like that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, but I have to push back just a little bit on what Ms. Toppy said in terms of, I agree that these discussions can feel very strange and uncomfortable for people. And I get we're being made to talk about it, the government's making us talk about it. It is a complicated issue. But to say that our leadership has no role in trying to make society better at a social level, I mean, I just have to ask you, like, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Act, that was the federal government dictating how people had to behave going forward. Of course, there was a lot of pushback, but so I'm just, to say that there's no role for elected leadership in these discussions, I just don't agree with. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Do I have to state my name again? No.
Yes, yes.
Jasmine Sunis, Mansfield Road. I just wanted to add too that I still, again, I just feel like something is kind of missing here, right? We're sort of missing the point a little bit. It's, again, and I can't remember exactly how Ben articulated it, but it's not about trying to make people, buy into, one certain thing, right? Or having the government kind of dictate that's really not what it's about. There's been many towns who have formed DEI committees and there has been a lot of positive community, is kind of coming together to, whether it's through education or, working with the local libraries. This is also why, large entities have full-time staff that are dedicated to this particular, to DE&I, because, at the heart of it, right, is attracting and retaining good people, talented people from all different backgrounds that you want to feel safe and welcomed and included in the community so that the community can continue to thrive. I think that that's the point. And I do think that it's a good idea to make sure that you have community involvement and citizens involvement. However, I also feel that it needs to be some type of a partnership with the town. I mean, you all are town leadership. You really do help to drive the culture of what the town of Smithfield is really going to look like and feel like, both from the citizens, who, the residents who live here, and also outwardly too. So just wanted to.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we have a motion on the table. We have
Susie Alba, 85 Colwell Road. I don't want to say much because so much was covered already very eloquently, but it concerns me a bit because I'm seeing a pattern with this town council of not working collaboratively with boards and commissions. And I say that because many members of the task force, as was stated this evening, were not even notified that this was even an agenda item. And that's unacceptable, quite frankly. The town council member who asked to have it on the agenda, I don't know who that was, could have prior to, if you're not going to listen to your town and commission members, how are you going to listen to the residents of the community? So if there were some concerns, which are very valid from members of the town council, to not contact any member of the task force who happen to be your colleagues in government and 3 of your residents, prior to putting a dissolution or dissolving the actual task force and the committee, is disrespectful and a slap in the face to the structure and the very nature of why our committees and commissions exist. It happened with the dog park committee. There was a vote by the town council to eliminate the fees for the dog park without talking or collaborating with the dog park committee. It's just a pattern of this from this town council. So it's unacceptable. The town manager, the town council president, the person who put it on the agenda could have had the decency and the respect to at least alert the members of the task force that this was even an issue or going to be an agenda item tonight. So at the most basic level, again, if the town council is not going to work collaborative, listen to the commission members themselves, it concerns me that you're not listening to the residents. I'm not going to go into the history of the task force, but there were 2 council members right now that were part of the original intention of that task force. There were hundreds of people who attended the forums that we had early on as a result of a particular incident, yes. But since then, the youth council you had before you this evening, I mean, on the most basic level, having the very nature of this task force sends a message to our residents that we are a community that is welcoming and that people can feel heard. We know this work is hard. It takes time. It takes difficult conversations. It takes leadership. This progress does not happen overnight. I think the very nature of the early work of the task force and then hearing Ben's update, I mean, Mr. Iannotti, I commend you for being a town council member that is willing to hear what the task force has planned and sort of work into a different iteration. But no one called Ben or any member of the task force to say, hey, what have you been doing? So just because they haven't brought it to you doesn't mean you can't pick up the phone and ask them what progress they're making. The youth council, who is here before you this evening, has sponsored multiple Chalk the Walks events with hundreds of people, anti-bullying presentations, the mural project under the Stillwater Bridge. They distributed pins at the high school. I mean, the list goes on and on of the various events and things that our youth have done in this area in conjunction with this task force. So it's so ironic to have your youth council present to you at the start of the evening, and then at the end of the evening, you want to dissolve a committee or commission that our youth have actually been part of. Our youth commission was part of that task force in the very first forum that we had. In fact, they hosted their own youth forum as part of the early incident. So it's just very disheartening. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that after this evening that members of the town council, number one, will work more collaboratively with their boards, commissions, task force members, not blindside them and govern heavy-handed and just make decisions unilaterally without collaboration. And number two, that you'll consider ongoing conversations about how this work can progress and be better. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second on the table, right?
Can you repeat the motion, Lynn, so everybody knows what it is?
Vice President Ionati wanted to give the task force the opportunity to present recommendations to the council by December 31st of this year, and then the task force would be dissolved.
Was there a second on that?
There was.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those not in favor? Nay?
No.
Any more motions on this, or is that?
Motion goes down, 3-2.
I'd like to make a motion on it, that we have another public hearing on this, and then go back and review the committee, as multiple people had said, that there was too many government officials on it, that we open it up to residents of the town of Smithfield. I mean, I agree with you, Councilman, about having a report. They've had 2.5 years with no report, but I think we're part of to blame because there's no direction on how we're going to get this thing done. I sat on the juvenile hearing board for a number of years. There's problems everywhere. There's problems everywhere. Black, white, green, red. I do agree that everyone wants to come to Smithfield. Smithfield's a great town, great community. But I think the public needs to be more involved, as you indicated. So why don't we make a motion to December 31st, come up with a report. At that time of the report, the council reviews it, the report, and then sets up another committee, a public committee, not a government committee.
How do we have the authority to set up a citizen committee if it's not the government?
Anybody can set up a committee.
So it is, you're saying that you mean another committee that the government's involved in, that would be on,
I can't, I don't
I'm
wanna
not
put
sure what you
words- I
mean.
don't want to put words in the council member's mouth, but I think what he's referring to is creating a committee with more citizen participation in it rather than town hall members being on the committee.
So it's a government commission, but it's just
Government committee.
comprised of the public instead of the government.
Just like the planning board
And the zoning board.
and the zoning board. I think I can go, I can live with that. It doesn't set it, it doesn't terminate, doesn't get rid of anything. It just continues it going and then helps us restructure it at the end. I'll second that.
Any more discussion on that?
How can we agree to that if we don't have set goals? And I would pose the question again. I mean, in tangible terms, if somebody could just answer this question, in tangible terms, what does diversity, equity, and inclusion look like in this town hall right now, as an example? Is there anyone that would be able to explain that to me? Because I don't understand. Well, I'd like to know now because we're voting on something. Well, my point is,
I'm sorry. You got to come up.
my point is that, there are a lot of advocates for this in this room this evening. And I would assume that you would be able to advise what that looks like in real life. And I'm just trying to get an example of what that looks like. If somebody could please help me out with that.
I think if we get the report, we review the report, whatever recommendations are there, we can make, and then we set up another committee with less overhead to it. It's not rocket science.
Well, thank you. Why don't we look at the report, and then based on the information in the report, then decide whether we want to have a committee that's like the planning board or the, that's a committee set up by the town council, or whether we would rather recommend that a private group form based on, and we'll look at the report first, instead of deciding that.
That's
tonight.
basically what I'm saying. Let's look at the report. If they come up with a report, if they don't come up with a report, well,
Which we don't even
It's on
need a
them.
motion for, because this has been, twice this has been shot down, so they can just submit the report to us and we can review it and then go from there.
Well, I mean, no,
This way, the task force is still active, we review it, and we make our decision at a further date.
You had a motion that was made and.
Sean seconded.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yep.
So can we repeat that motion?
Member Tassoni wants to set up a public hearing for the council to review the report that's going to be submitted by the DEI task force. It's going to be open to the residents, and the council can then determine if they want to set up another board or committee, or I don't know if they want to use an offshoot or a separate board of commission on their own.
And when's the report supposed to be?
What's the date?
I'm sorry, December 31st.
So we're having the public hearing on December 31st, or we're having a report, and then when's the public hearing?
I don't know about the date for the public hearing, but the report is to
Well,
be
there
turned
should
in
be a
by the
date.
end of the year.
the public hearing will be the first meeting in January, if you want to go that route.
What,
Yeah,
Anthony?
your meetings in January will be, right now, technically, it would be the first and third Tuesday of the month, would be January 2nd. If you're giving it to the-
Second meeting in January.
So if you're giving them till the end of the year to submit a report,
I
like
agree.
December 31st.
I didn't know if it was the 7th or the 9th.
The purpose of the public hearing is to either decide to move forward with another committee or a private, leave it to the private citizens. Is that what I'm understanding?
The 15th of January.
We have a second, right?
I think Ms. Stiegelmeyer wanted to say something.
Yes.
Um,
Name and address again, I know it's.
Okay, Kim Ziegelman, 334 Waterman Ave. So to try to answer your question, Ms. Toppy, so diversity in this room for the percentage of people that we have here of different economic backgrounds, different ethnic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, I mean, skin color, right? Is this room, do we see a certain percentage of the people that are lower numbers in the community? So are they, so that's diversity, right? In this room, are we fully representing the diversity of Smithfield? Probably not. We're missing youth, right? Equity, are these places of power equally accessible to people? Do they feel like they're equally accessible to people, right? And inclusion, I would just argue, do you feel welcome, right? To those people that are, again, these lower number percentages of our community, socially, economically, age-wise, whatever, do they feel welcome? So that's just me attempting to answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we have the motion and the second on.
All those in favor with that?
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion carries 4-0 to 1. All right. Consider and discuss and act upon approving tax abatements in the amount of $316.06.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There is public comment, if you'd like to come up and speak. State your
Hi,
name.
Angelica Bovis, 65 Esmond Street. Very brief, I just want to say thank you to the town council for the planning board appointment. Thanks.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.